All right, hello, welcome. And this is a stream about CLI Builder. It's been a while that I do any streaming about this project because, well, haven't really worked on it for a while, although I should have. And in the last stream, the last time I shared, we were upgrading to version 7, which is a rewrite and do things to do things in a more functional approach, and it works fine, works great. And in this stream, I am actually in the process of upgrading it again to handle or to improve some of the problems that we have in the previous version, or actually in the previous few versions. So with that, let's get started. And I still showing the old title, so forgot about that title. So what happened is this should be CLI Builder. Should be this guy. Okay. So what do we have over here? Before that, let me bring this up, make sure that we are in a good shape. Okay, everything looks good. So I have already made some change compared to version 7, and you can take a look over here. Alright, so that was in the main, and then all the way version 7 was here. So there was quite a lot of changes that I have made. So let's go over that a little bit first. So one of the things I've done is convert the package, convert the repository to a monorepo. The reason is because I find out that I want to do something a little bit more elaborate to the CLI builder in terms of testing and adding plugins and things like that. So having a monorepo makes sense, right? And in this video, that is one of the things that we will work on. So, and as for monorepo, I have also switched over to PNPM. And I originally switched it over to Yarn and Yarn 2 and above, but that it turns out it didn't work that well. And maybe in the future I can do another video about that, specifically why I move away from Yarn. It was doing fine reasonably, but there's some problem they have. So that's why now I switch over to PNPM. I know, nowadays there's also Bun, and that sounds quite promising, and maybe it's something that we can take a look at in the future. But for now, PNPM works just fine for me. And then as for the monorepo, I'm using the turbo repo. Most of you probably have heard about Learner, and I used that in the past. And then besides Learner, then there is also Rush.io from Microsoft, and that's also a pretty interesting approach, or I should say a library or two. And then but at the end right now I am using this turbo repo. It is pretty awesome. I encourage you to check it out. It's very fast and doing caching and streamlining multiple commands or the scripts together, so it's pretty nice. Of course, it has some of its quirks, some issues that still need to iron out. So again, that's probably some other things that we'll talk about in the future. So as for that, back to the CLI builder, right? So I have put the CLI builder over here, and then one thing is we have upgraded all the dependencies, and actually that is one of the reasons that drive me to go back to here to update it, because I'm working on the JustFun and the JustWeb. And on that, as I try to upgrade and do stuff, and also actually I should say I also working on the Moctomata, you know, the package that would do the automated acceptance test versus unit test, you know, that cool stuff. It used to call Commando, and I switch over, and then I try to upgrade it to add some of the functionality back. And one of these is dependency is CLI builder. That's why I get back to here to update this, use the latest standard log, and so that I can use it over here there without introducing two versions of standard log. So, and as I'm upgrading all this, back to the other reason that I want to update the CLI builder is the plugin system, right? So the CLI builder, one of its special feature is it supports plugins, right? And the problem in version 7 and actually before that, for CLI builder is that I was using the find install package and the search install package. Search install package, is that how I call it? You know, the one I wrote to look up this search packages to find the plugin in runtime. Right, when you start the CLI, it will use this package to look up, find out what kind of what plugins you have installed, and then load that automatically, so you don't have to add that in the config. Everything just kind of work out of the box. The problem with that is twofold. One is it's slow, because as you know, node modules is a black hole, so there is a lot of packages installed for a typical project that you work on, right? So that's why when it's try to search for the package, it take a long time to do that. And then another reason is even more significant is that it doesn't support the different package manager, especially say for Yarn, right? Yarn, you have PNP mode, and in the PNP mode, you know, there's no node modules folder, right? And the search package, or the find install package, I really should say, is looking up packages from the node modules, right? The other use case is, say, for example, maybe say Dino, or maybe Bun, although I think they still using the node modules in certain stance, but that can change, right? And also the PNPM, obviously, it does do the symlink, which might still works fine, but I just not feeling comfortable to keep using the find install package, which goes into the node modules to look for the plugin. Is not that reliable, right? Another use case is that if you just bundle your application, your CLI applications, and as a single script file, and just try to put it, copy it, put it somewhere, and try to use it, you know, the plugin system won't work. Although on that, it is a questionable approach in terms of well, not I shouldn't really say questionable approach. I really should say that how does a standalone bundled CLI applications would load and interact with plugin? That's something that I haven't really figured out yet. But you know, that is such a use case, right? And there may be other ways to load the plugins, right? So that's the other reason why I want to update the CLI builder. So that's what this current status is. Oh, there's one more, which is the support of ESM. Right. So as you probably know nowadays, the community, the JavaScript community, is gradually and painfully migrating from the CommonJS to ESM, right? And the way to load the package in ESM is different than in CommonJS, right? CommonJS you use required to load some code. But in ESM, you use the import, right? And if it is not something that hard-coded, in your source code, you use dynamic import, and that is a asynchronous operation, right? So then that means the code that calls it, try to load the plugin, need to be asynchronous, need to work with promises, right? And the version 7 of the CLI builder doesn't do that. Right, so those are the 3 major reasons why I am now going back to the CLI builder and try to upgrade it. Of course, this upgrade will be a breaking change because it's removing, it's changing the way how it loads the plugin. So now in the new version, it will use a config files. Right, it used to support the config files already. But in this version, it will use the config files kind of like ESLint, which you can specify where it extends from, or in like in Jest, which you can specify the plugins, right, over here for the watch plugins, right? So that's how a lot of libraries do this, and the new version of CLI builder will do the same. So here now what we have is we can see not npm, what pm verify, right? And you can see that this right now is building because I commented out some of the unit tests because I was still in the process of updating it, and but the repository is building, is working. Well, not really working. What is passing CI? Right. So that brings to the main topics of today on this stream, which is this CLI tester. So what happened is, okay, over here you can see that actually, give me a second. Yeah. So you can see here, that is the I forgot which. I keep always forgetting. There you go. Right. These 3 folders. Right, these 3 folders are the new folders that I have added in the mono repo. So we have the package, right? I'll move the CLI builder in there, and then have these to contain some internal package for the plugins, for some CLI, and you can see that I'm creating some CommonJS variants and the ESM variants, so that I can make sure that the CLI builder will work out of the box. Because the one thing you would see, let me do it right now, is that if we go to CLI apps, and then over here, right? And then when I do this, not test, let me do the start, right? So this it executes. So let me show you what's going on over here. So in this CLI, in the app.js, I should go over here. Right, in this guy, I am calling this test CLI when I run the start script, right? And then that test CLI, in this case, it is for this right now. Actually, I'm using the ESM one, so I might as well. I haven't changed this yet. So this is using the ESM, but it doesn't really matter. So this is the ESM version of a test CLI. So it is written in ESM, and it's just create a CLI build, create your CLI application, call test CLI, and then execute it, right? And this guy over here in the in this project, right, it is including these 2 plugins, and it is mentioned over here, but it's only using one, right? So when I run it, you see that it prints out this test CLI message, right, in the console, which is expected. But these logs are actually not expected, or maybe it is for this, because this is a warning case, because over here I have set it up to you know, in the bin over here, it say, oh, it will take a config, right? It will try to load the config, and so it go over here and try to load it, and then say, oh, it cannot load it. So if I comment it out, you can see that that one is gone. However, you see that it still print out this message. This is really not expected, right? But in my test, in the unit test, when I'm doing it, I didn't catch this, right? The reason I didn't catch this is because during the test, a lot of time, the log system and other things, it could have other messages and stuff. So when I write the test, I compare or check only the things that matter to what I'm testing, right? So therefore, it completely missed this, right? And of course, you know, you probably is a no-brainer for you guys that no matter how well you write your unit test, right, it still could break down in real life when you actually use the application, right? So for myself, you know, with all the project that I work on and stuff, I feel pretty comfortable with unit tests. But it is true that I confess, a lot of times when I work on a project, I make some change. That I find out that's something I need. I go in and change it at the unit test. The code coverage is great, right? But then once I release it, and then I switch back to the other project that I work on so that I can use the code that I just released, then I find out some problems, right? So it is true that, you know, no matter how you write your unit test, how well, how diligent you upheld your standard, right, you will still end up missing things, right? Because when you are writing unit tests, although you put yourself in the shoes of the consumer, but that is still kind of a simulation, right? It is all within your between your ears, and you won't able to catch everything, right? That's why you need beta. That's why you need actual user to try it out, right? And so that's why it is important to have some actual use case, right? And having a mono repo and able to add the test, you know, the consumer of your code directly next to your package is great, right? So that you can add that to the test, making sure that they work and bundle together. Well, not work and bundle together, I mean during the CI, you're able to check them together, make sure that the change you made still works correctly as expected in real life. Right. So that is the benefit of monorepo. But of course, that is not necessarily always possible, because be honest, even with this, you are still working inside a vacuum, right? So, well, because then in other way that could make it better is to have some quote-unquote connected repository. So say this is a CLI builder repository, right? And then there are some CI tools or something outside of the repository that can say, okay, there are a few key consumer of this repository or this package, and I want to use that as a reference, right? So I will monitor it when I release a new version, or before. It would be even better is that if before you actually release the version, you were able to create a branch in the reference project that you choose, and over there you create a branch and point it to the unreleased version or a beta version of your package, and go through the CI and to make sure that everything works fine, right? It is possible, right? But right now I don't know of any service or any say GitHub actions out there that allows you to do this, right? And that is actually, I think, is a very good idea. I have a organization, I create an organization called Repo Buddy, and that would be a good feature, the initial feature to be added over there, right? I create that organization originally for something else to manage multiple repositories and stuff, but this idea is something great. So if any of you have some interested in that, right, ping me, and you can see over here that is a Discord server that I created. So if you're interested, join the Discord and let me know. We might work on it together. But at the current moment, with all the things that I need to do, I couldn't really work on that at the moment. So yeah, we'll see. But I think that is a good idea. Right, so back to here. So this is, you can see that is that, right? So then the question is, how do I test this, right? Of course, yeah, I can just run it locally and see if it's work, but that's manual, right? I want to able to test this to make sure that when I make further change in the CLI builder, I won't screw this up, right? That's the whole purpose, is testing. So the one way to do that, and you can see over here, is that I did some prelim use case way by having a test, and what I do is sending the standard out to this out result, the error to this error result, and then I use the diff. So you can see that I'm doing diff over here, right? So this diff is so this diff, what is that? So this diff is doing the comparing between the standard out baseline compared with the result that we have, and then this one is doing the same thing for the error. Right, from there I can do a to make sure that they are good, right? If they doesn't work, right, if there are difference, right? So say PNPM test, right? So like this, I purposely make them there's some difference over there. Then you will see that the test failed, right? And the command failed except with code 1, right? So that is one way to do it. Of course, this doesn't really scale right? Because this is just testing one single case, right? As using the CLI or any CLI application, it doesn't need to be written using CLI builder, right? You can use Commander, you can use any CLI, or you just build it yourself, not using any library. You can test it. You can do the same thing to test your application, right, with different inputs and what is the expected output. So it is a end-to-end test, right, and that will help to make sure that the application is working as expected. However, this approach, as mentioned, is severe limitation, right? So this is all manual and you're testing only one single case, right? And so it doesn't scale, right? So that remind me of, I have another package, right, which is the fixture package that does kind of exactly that, right? So let me actually bring it out. So let me bring that up over here. Let's see this guy. Right. So this guy. So this fixture, it does the baseline test, right? It do the baseline test, and it is used inside the unit test environment using either Jest or Mocha, right? And what it does is you can create baselines. You can create different case, and then it will you will execute it. It will save the snapshot, and you do the comparison, that kind of thing, right? So with that, you were able to create different test case, right? And we could do the same thing over here. Right, but the difference is you will execute that from the command line, because you would need to execute it directly instead of running it inside inside Jest or inside some kind of test runner. Right, so because of that, we need to build something on top of this. Right, another reason, another thing is that I cannot use this fixture directly in this case is because of ESM. Right, so let's switch back to the CLI builder over here. So the problem that I have with the current test, right, as I mentioned at the beginning, I disable some of the existing tests because I find out it is not very stable. The reason it is not very stable is because of this code. So this is loading the plugin. So inside the load plugin, it have this code to actually load the modules, right? So as mentioned, this won't work with Yarn PNP and maybe other things, right? And even the more important thing is this guy, right? Because I'm trying to do the ESM migration, and I change it to use import. However, the problem with import is that currently there is no way to create a cache, right? So when we are running the test, running unit tests, running a test runner, say using Jest, right? Then the process is up, and then you try to do some import. And when that happens, where it import from, where it start as a base to do the resolution is fixed. It's fixed to your process. But during tests, you want to test different scenarios, and that means if you want to stretch it to more like a unit test, like what I have done over here in the past, right? When I was in the version 7 or before, where this has been there for a while, this test using required, using common.js, using required to import it, and with that I can change the current directory to those locations and trick the system so that it will try to resolve the code over there, that kind of thing, and it will work. But that, when we do the ESM, it doesn't work because I do not have a way to clear the cache. And of course, if you know a way to do that, let me know. That would be interesting to know. But that is the problem that I'm facing, right? So therefore, it's the same thing when I'm talking about the fixture library, because when I'm running that inside the test runner, the same thing will happen, right? It's fixed and you cannot really create a cache or change the root folder where it tried to resolve the stuff from. So yeah, so unfortunately it have to go a little bit a different route, right? And that's why I'm creating this CLI tester to do that, right? So with that said, right, just that is the update, and that's what we want to do. And I know, we already passed half an hour, but hopefully, this gives you a good understanding of what we try to do here. All right, so with that, let's get into it. So the first thing is to create that project. Right now you can see that this is a empty folder, right? So what are you doing? CLI tester. I want to go in here. What? Oh, I'm in the wrong place. I'm at the wrong place. Packages, CLI tester, there you go. Right over here. I don't know why I do that from the command line, but that's what it is. So let me close all these files and let's do this pnpm init. Okay, again, I don't know why I was doing that manually from the command line, but created that. So at the beginning, let's set it to version 0.0.0, right? So this, I have already written some message over here, right? So I'm just going ahead and copy that. So this CLI tester is for testing CLI application output against baseline. Because, this is a initial way, in this initial description, we can change it in the future. Changing this to MIT, and let me actually brings in all those other things. That's why I say, well, I don't know why I try to be quote unquote fancy and do it through the command line. I don't have to, right? I just copy and paste, right? What are you doing here? And so let's me go back over here and fill in the rest, right? The keyword, we can do that later on. And this is MIT, this is this. The side effect, yeah, there won't be any side effect. And I expect to do this, so all of these will be the same, right? Will be the same over here. The script go away, the main go away. And then sort package JSON, so that's that. So the home page is that, that's fine. The bug is that, well, actually the home page, should I keep it at the root? Yeah, maybe I can do that. In some other repository, some of the package, I point it directly to the README for this guy. Maybe I should do that too. I should still do that. Give me a second, because that gives a better user experience, right? When you go to the npm page, right, look at the readme over there, and then you saw this homepage, there will be a link, right? It's based on this homepage, and that will point to the well, it will use this as a link, right? What I'm talking about. I can't talk and navigate at the same time. So therefore, it is a good idea to change this to main packages CLI tester. Right. I think it will be something like that, right? So that's that, and then over here, this guy, I should also change it to go down to the CLI builder, right? So that when I release the new version, that will go to the right place. The bug is the same, the repository is the same, that's as expected, and then the side effect. Now, over here in the export, right? This is something that I'm not sure yet, right? I am planning to export this as a ESM, right? And it is a good idea, if possible, to export it just as ESM. However, I don't know will it work. And that leads to the some of the problem with the ecosystem today. So let me explain. So, over here, let me go back to this guy. Okay. So over here, this is, I want to use this as an example, right? So this is a ESM, right? And you saw that it was working, right? So open it is integrated terminal. So over here, so pm start, you can see that it is working, right? But if I change this to CommonJS and run it, oh, it's still working. I hope this will work. This will continue to work. I saw there was some issue that it might not, that the type interfere with for the package, the consuming package interfere with the command, the package, the code that you try to write. It have to be also ESM, and that's a problem that I face. But seems like right now this doesn't happen. I don't know, maybe I mess up when I was testing this, maybe not, maybe that is a other case. So that's one thing that I'm not sure. For the CLI builder, it might be worse, but for the CLI tester over here, that might be okay. That might be okay, because we are using this CLI tester directly, right? It will be really a test runner kind of thing. What you would do is give it some path, where to run the test against, where's the baseline folder, and it will just do all that for you, right? So for this guy, doing this module, exposing or exporting it as a ESM only module probably will work, right? For the CLI builder, maybe not, because I'm still debating. That's why I have all these tests over there that I try to write, and we will see, right? Do I want to force all the consumer of the CLI builder, meaning you, when you creating your CLI application, that you have to write it in ESM, right? Maybe, or maybe not, right? I would see add more test applications and the plugins also, right? Yeah, that is one of the problem that I have found, that say, well, when you do this, then all the code that you load, all the plugins that you load also need to be ESM. They also all need to be updated. But in practice, right? Is that a good thing, right? Or is still good to have a transition period that, say, you already have some plugin written in CJS, in CommonJS, and it will still continue to work until you have a chance to go in to update those plugins to ESM, then you can switch over, right? So that's the concern, right? That's the concern that I have. But well, for this right now, that's fine. Let's assume that is okay. Okay, so for the script, this will be the same, or most likely the same, right? And it have this deep check and have all this stuff pretty standard for me. And with that, right, I will start running it, right? Of course, the issue is we are still missing all those dependencies, right? So if I run, still used to yarn pnpm say build, right? So you will see that all this fail, but Node.js is missing. So so first pnpm install, right? So that it's updated itself, knowing that there is a package over there. Then yeah, local but that is missing. Do you mean to install? Oh, I don't even have any code yet what I'm doing over here. So let me do that. ts index.ts, right? Export const empty. So with that, and then let's copy the other files over here. I don't copy and paste. Okay, it's not that hard. So copy and paste over here. This is Node.next. It's okay. And with the command line, well, this is CLI tester. All right, let's keep. Well, since I'm doing it, I should do this also. Yeah, let me just copy the whole thing and remove, right? So tester, so this is not CLI builder, CLI tester over here, and then we still want this GitHub action, all this stuff. This is still good, but this information is not needed for now, right? And in fact, I can get this message, this description over here for the time being. Just give it something, right? Install usage, the usage of course is wrong. Let's keep it empty, right? So I want to remove this and not having any wrong information over here, right? The testing probably not needed, shebang not needed, so that's it, right? And this going to update this guy, so CLI tester, right? So this 2, this 3, this 4 will be CLI tester. So right now I'm doing this so that you can see exactly what I would normally do when creating a new package, right? It's not creating anything from scratch. In the past, I have that the scaffolding, Yeoman, and then also try to do the create using the npm create project, but haven't get a chance to finish that. And to be honest, yes, the fact is, you know, do this copy and paste is not too big of a deal, although I have more than 100 package. But you know, every time creating one is tedious, and especially upgrading is tedious. So I really want to get that working, but it's messy, it's complicated, right? Especially when it get to say PNPM is have the peer dependencies, all those things, want to clean up, which is a good thing. However, that makes it hard or make me questions the usefulness of those repo scripts, like in CLA, right? In Create React App, it has the repo script repository that handles the actual script, handles the dependency, and so on, right? And it's nice. However, any convenience comes with some strings, right? Which is that then you are tied to or depend on when the repo script will be updated, updating the dependency they use, right? And is there a reason for them to do so? It's very unlikely they have to do so. They have the reason to do so. They only would do that when there are, like, say, security update, right? Then it makes sense to update it. But besides that, it's not so much. Then when you are using those repo script, using Create React App, and then working on your own project, and then you want to use something new, right? Say Storybook come up with a new version. It's great. It has some feature that you have long waited for. But then when you upgrade it, there are conflicts. The Webpack doesn't work together. They are not happy against each other. They are fighting things against each other, especially when you're using PNPM. Is say, there are different versions of the same package. Which one do you want? You can't have both. And even I'm not trying to bash PNPM, right? That is a great thing, and I'm using it. But there are all this kind of strings attached, right? The tools brings convenience to you. There's always a catch, right? Just like anything else, right? Writing code. You skip some step over here, you got to pay it somewhere else, right? So, enough whining on that. And so I'm going to change this, update this to the best I can. Of course, I think that there might be still something missing, but most of the time this will be good. So let me make this bigger. So the cook-off, so this all need to change to CLI tester. And also, this is still prelim. When you create a new repository, create a new package, the first things you would do is do a npm info, right, to see if it is being used. And in this case, I can see this name, this CLI tester, is not being used, right? However, because of the issues, it is a very controversial topic that npm do some have some logics to make sure that the package name are not too similar. If they are too similar, you won't able to create it anymore, right? So say, for example, is there a CLI dash tester? And there is, right? There is. And will npm allow me to publish the package as CLI tester? It depends on them, right? If the word is more simple, very likely not. They will block it, and then I have to release it under my own scope, right? Under scope, and then all this need to change, right? But in this case, I'm hoping that even though there is only a dash difference, but CLITESTER might be npm will say, okay, let me go through, and you only knows when you're actually publishing it, right? And I can create some dummy stuff and publish it, and to see if I can do that. right? And then I update this, but then that means I will create a junk empty package in the npm for the time being, and I don't know when, how long it would take me to finish this to get to the first version, right? So I don't feel right to pick out that name right now, right? Although I did do that in the past, right? So that I can save a good name that I found, that I come up with, and that is one strategy, right? But for this one, yeah, the CLI tester name is just okay for me also. So I think, okay, if I really can't get that name, I will think of another name or just put it in the scope package, just like the fixture. Doesn't really matter. So that's why I don't feel like doing it now. All right, so that's that. And so I have updated all this. So that would be good enough for the README. Oh, of course, this, right? Tester. I don't want to have some junk over here. All right, so that's done with the README. What else? The changelog, don't need to do anything. The jest, all this stuff, maybe. But don't worry about that for the time being. Adding this guy, it happens again. What? So over here with this, right? I probably don't need these for the time being. I do need that. I do assume I will be using the jest commit lint. Actually, I don't need commit lint over here at this level I'm doing. So let me also fix that. Let me just double check. I should not have commit lint over here. Yep, because it's at the top level, right? It should be over over here, right, at the top level of the mono repo, right here. And over here I'm not running any deep check, right? I could, but it doesn't hurt much anyway, so that's okay. So now, so that's that. Let's see if there's any other things. The Babel call, yeah, that's fine. I think the TS-lib is actually extra. What's the error? Why this is showing an error? Oh, because of that guy. That's fine. All right. So with that, now that should work. What? npm build. Let's do the build first. Right. So now that build works. Right. So verify. If it doesn't have that script, for the turbo repo, if your local package doesn't have this, it won't complain. But I do have, because I copied it over. Yeah. So do I want to fix it? Yeah, I should. That's one of the reasons, because I know I'm going to need it anyway. So let's do that. Let's fix that. So packages on tester over here, right? I could just again copy that from here, right? But I could also do it from the command line. Well, actually, since I know exactly what I need, so let me just copy this over. So I need this, I don't need that, I need this, right? And then what else? I would need this, need the jest, need the yes lint, need the cost ref, cost environment. The cost environment is for the ESM stuff. That's something that I learned that we still need. And I also need the Babel jest, even though I have the TS jest, because of the dependency part, that I still need the Babel jest. That's also something that is weird. And I'm switching back, by the way, to TS just because of the ESM. Before I start the switch to ESM, I have updated all my repository to just use Babel. Right, just strip out the TypeScript stuff. I don't really need it. During tests, and I actually don't want to do the type checking in the unit test when I'm running Jest, because that really just slow me down, right? But in the ESM, I think the Babel one is not ready yet, so I have to switch back over. If you know that there is a way that I don't need the TS Jest anymore, even for the ESM, let me know. I would love to switch back. Right? It's not that I hate TS Jest, right? It's a great thing, but I just don't see the need of doing the transpilation on doing type checking, right? And speaking of which, you can see that over here, one of the things I do is setting these isolated modules, which effectively turn off the type checking. It's not really that, although that's what TS Jest tells you, is not what it do. What it does is treat every file as an individual file, every TypeScript file as an individual file, so that the linkage, the dependent types, it will just ignore that, right? But I think if you have some internal types and stuff, they will still do the checking. I haven't really test that out, but I think that is the case. So there is a difference between this isolated modules equal to true versus really ignore the type check, as in the Babel Jest, or as in the TS loader, where you specify transpile only in the Webpack side. Right. So there is a difference. But anyway, so that's what that is. And let's see what else. I need this type Jest. Where am I? Isolatron, I don't need that for now yet. I would need this. And then type Jest, Babel core, unfortunately, because of the Babel Jest, I would need that. So I think this should be sufficient. Right, so with that, let's run that. It will still fail, I think. Yes, as expected. It still failed because I haven't added any test file yet. I think the error is because it cannot find any test. Let's see if that is the case. Here I tested no test found except code 1. There you go. Right, so the answer to that is okay. Test to do, no test yet. Running that again. Now this should go through the test part, and the rest also go through, because the dependency checks, I already know what to put in, and yeah, that's good. And on that ends, you can see that the effect of turbo repo, right? So this is using the cache. So what turbo repo does is, for each of the step, if it passes and there's no change in your code, then it will just use the cache. So you can see that this is really fast, just in half a second, right? So that's the benefit of using TurboJust. That's why it's great. Go give them a like, give them a star, right? Okay, so that's that. Let's see. So what we have over here. So far, we have already streamed for an hour. We haven't really get started yet, but it's productive. Well, we go through all of these changes, and it shows you how I would create a brand new project within the monorepo, right? Just, well, copy and paste, because I know what they are. And we talk about a lot of different stuff, more than I can recall, right? So I don't really have a summary for this session, and just go back and take a look at it. But I'll try to try my best. I talk about the PMPM, right? I talk about PMPM, talk about the problem with. Have I talked about the problem with yarn too? No, I have not. So let me add that in to make sure that you were you would know about it. One, the problem with yarn, yarn 2 or yarn 3, the plug-and-play system, is that it's not that it's the bad system, right? It definitely put a lot of thoughts into it, but it's amazing that it come up with a new way to do things, and also, you know, have a plug-in system and all that, and have a forward thinking and all those things. But however, the migration is painful. That's one. But that is not the real reason for me to switch back to PMPM, because I did that. I able to switch over and it works relatively okay. But there are a lot of things you have to work around, right? Sometimes the webpack doesn't work, and some dependencies is not working really nicely. And then when you're using VS Code, you have to adding this zipfs, right? And then you have to add the plugin for the VS Code, so to go to the right reference to make it to open up the type definitions and all that. And sometimes it doesn't work, and so it's a lot of annoyance in those areas. But I was still trying to stick with it. Although then I also learned that the PMPM resolution module, the algorithm, the way it does it is seems to be better, and it's also very performance. But what at the end recently makes me switch back to or switch forward to PMPM is that there are certain things it's just doesn't work. One of which is or I should say, just for my own experience, the problem is the npm publish dry run. So if you don't know, npm publish have this dry run mode that allows you to try to see what kind of what the contents is in your package. So if I do this right now over here, right? So let me expand it. So you can see for the CLI builder, right? It will contain the license files, and then you can see that here it contains this TS build info. Right, this is actually not something that I didn't expect. It shouldn't be there, right? I want to remove that. And then another thing is the test files, right? So let me share that with you guys over here. So in the past, and I have explained that and shared that in the Stack Overflow, that one way I manage the build versus test, because for the test I need to load all the files, right? The actual code and also the test, right? But during build time, I don't want to get the I don't want to bundle the test file, right? The spec file into the bundle, right? That doesn't make sense, right? And so the solution I come up with was having multiple TS config, right? One for the build, one for the VS Code to load everything, and also use the same one for the test, and even maybe one for the for lint, because there will be different different things, you know, the ESM or the different module and that kind of things that you need to look at and think about. So that's the solution that I had in the past. However, then I figure out that, oh, actually in npm, in the Node.js stuff, you can, when you specify files, you can actually do negative specification to say, hey, if it is some spec file, ignore them. I don't want them in the package, right? So that is what I'm doing. By doing that, that would allow me, so before I forget, let me do the same thing, ts build info, right? This is also something that I don't want, right? So by doing that, it will be gone. But then, you know, this is just something that you specify, right? You want to see how they go. So that's where this dry one run come in, and that allows you to actually see what is in the table, right? What is in the package. So you can see over here, right? So now with me adding that ts build info, right, that file is gone, right? And so I can inspect and make sure that it really contain only the files I want it to contain. Say for example, maybe I don't even want this, right? So you can see this is very useful. You can go in to inspect exactly what you want to be in the actual release. However, the thing is, for the yarn tool, right? Number one is in yarn 1 you were able to do yarn publish and do similar thing, but in yarn 2 they removed that. You have to do ylx, I think, and then do the npm or the yarn and then run npm. So it's basically delegate that back to the npm side. And but with the npm, the plug and play version, there are certain issues that prohibit that from running. I forget exactly what it is, and over here right now, since I'm already converted to PNPM, I can't show you that, but it run into problem that basically I can't do that. It's kind of frustrating because it is something that they used to have in yarn 1, and they took it out and give it to delegate to npm, which I'm okay with, but then you cannot do it. So that's why I say, okay, let's make the move and switch over to PNPM. So that's why. So that's the story behind the yarn 2 and yarn 3. Okay, of course in the future, well, that's the bun stuff, and we might able to use that and that, but that's a complete different story, right? It's a different runtime and all that stuff, right? So it's interesting, and we'll see what will happen. Okay, so that's the yarn and the PNPM. So let's back to the summary, right? I talked about that for or much matter like rant about that more like for almost 10 minutes. So yeah, so that's the change, right? And changing it to another thing is changing it to monorepo, right? So that allows me to create all these things, all these separate test package, local package, and also with the PNPM and yarn in this case, that you were able to use this namespace specifier to indicate that, hey, I just want to use that internally and go reference those guys internally. So this is a great feature. It's a spec that is defined, but it's still not yet available in npm. I hope npm will adapt, implement that soon, so people who are still using npm will able to use it. So that's one. Another thing over here. So yeah, so that's that. And then We talk about why we changed the CLI builder, ESM, standard log, and the plugin problem, right? And so yeah, and then about the CLI tester. So that's it for this one. Let's end this section over here, and in the next one we will continue on the CLI tester. There's a lot that need to happen to design and implement. It would be pretty interesting, and hopefully we were able to join us in the next stream or watch the next video. So with that, hope you enjoy this one and hope you learned something. And again, if you like this video, feel free to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on notification. In the other stream I also mentioned that because of my time, I will tend to do more streams nowadays, but my schedule is actually not that stable, right? I'm very busy and try to do different things, so many things that I need to work on, and there are a lot of projects that I'm thinking about doing on this channel, right? But just didn't get a chance to work on them. So the schedule, even the streaming schedule, is not static. I don't have a fixed time for this yet, so turn on the notification will help you to see when I will able to do these streams, so that you can hopefully you can join the fun. And then I also have this Discord, so feel free to join over there. I will also post over there, and then we can chat and discuss about anything about programming, about TypeScript, about just fun, about architecture, about the cycling, about Rust, anything that we want to talk about. Right, so with that, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.